Your dog woke you up 3 times last night, and you still did not move them off the bed. That is not a sleep problem. Research on pet co-sleeping finds that owners consistently report worse objective sleep quality and better subjective sleep satisfaction at the same time. They wake more and feel more rested. What that contradiction reveals about your psychology is what this video is about. If you want to understand what your dog is really telling you, you are in the right place. Picture a typical evening. You get into bed, pull back the covers, and your dog, who has been waiting with visible anticipation, launches themselves up beside you. Maybe they circle twice, collapse against your legs, and sigh with a contentment that is almost theatrical. You smile, you adjust, you rearrange your entire body around theirs. By midnight, they have drifted to the center of the mattress. By 3 a.m., you are clinging to 6 inches of bed. You wake up. You consider moving them. You look at their sleeping face. You do not move them. This is one of the most common experiences dog owners report. Surveys consistently show that more than half of pet owners share their sleeping space with their animals, and the majority who do so know it disrupts their sleep. They know it, and they choose it anyway, night after night. The question is not whether the behavior exists. It clearly does. The question is what it means that rational, sleep-deprived adults make this choice repeatedly, not once, not out of novelty, but as a sustained active preference. What are they getting that they apparently cannot get any other way? Here is the thing about the co-sleeping choice that most sleep hygiene content misses entirely. It frames the behavior as a failure of discipline, a bad habit, something to be corrected. But behavioral science does not see it that way. What it sees is a person who has built an attachment system, a set of emotional behaviors designed to regulate their internal state, and has assigned their dog a central role in that system. The bed is not just a sleep surface. It is the place where you are most psychologically exposed. You are unconscious, vulnerable, unguarded, and who you choose to have beside you in that state is a direct expression of who you trust with your unguarded self. Researcher John Bradshaw, who has spent decades studying the human-animal bond, has noted that the rituals around dogs and sleep reflect some of the most primal attachment behaviors humans exhibit, proximity seeking under conditions of vulnerability. You are not keeping your dog in bed because you lack willpower. You are keeping them there because your nervous system has decided, below the threshold of conscious reasoning, that the regulatory benefit, the warmth, the weight, the breathing, outweighs the cost of fragmented sleep. That is not weakness. That is attachment working exactly as designed. Number 1. The attachment contract. Attachment theory, developed by John Bowlby and expanded across decades of research, describes how humans create emotional bonds with figures who provide safety and proximity. We typically think of this in terms of parent and child or romantic partners. But the architecture of attachment is not species-specific. It is a nervous system function, and your nervous system does not require the attachment figure to be human. József Topol and his colleagues at the Hungarian Academy of Sciences demonstrated in a landmark 1998 study that dogs show the hallmarks of secure attachment to their owners: proximity seeking, distress at separation, and use of the owner as a secure base in ways that directly parallel infant caregiver attachment. What this means for co-sleeping is significant. When you allow your dog onto the bed, you are fulfilling your role as their attachment figure. But something less discussed is happening simultaneously. Your dog is fulfilling a reciprocal role for you. The co-sleeping ritual is not just you giving comfort. It is a mutual attachment contract. One where both parties are meeting each other's proximity needs in the most vulnerable space either of them occupies. Your dog is not a passive recipient of your care at night. Number 2. The anxiety anchor. For a meaningful subset of dog owners, the co-sleeping choice is not primarily about warmth or affection. It is about anxiety management. And it works, which is exactly what makes it so persistent. When you are anxious, your body scans for cues of safety. The presence of a dog, their warmth, their rhythmic breathing, their weight against your body, triggers a cascade of physiological responses that downregulate the threat detection system. Your heart rate slows, your breathing deepens, the amygdala, your brain's alarm center, quiets. This is not metaphorical. Gregory Burns at Emory University has used neuroimaging to document that the bond between dogs and humans activates reward and attachment circuits in the human brain in measurable physiological ways. The dog is not just comforting in the abstract, they are a biological anchor. For owners with generalized anxiety, or who live alone, or who carry baseline hypervigilance from their history, the dog in bed is not a preference, it is a coping mechanism. And here's the important piece. Removing that coping mechanism without addressing the underlying anxiety is exactly why so many attempts to enforce the dogs off the bed rule collapse within 3 nights. You did not lose willpower, you lost your anchor. If that just made you see your relationship with your pet in a completely different way, hit subscribe. We explore the science of the human-pet bond every week and what it reveals about us. All right, let us keep going. Number 3. The loneliness signal. Loneliness researchers have identified a consistent pattern in how humans respond to social isolation. They shift their attachment needs toward available figures. Partners, friends, children, pets. The bed becomes important here because it is historically the most socially intimate space in a home. Sharing it carries meaning. For people who sleep alone, whether by circumstance or choice, the presence of a dog in that space is a direct response to a social need that is not being met elsewhere. This is not pathology. It is the nervous system doing exactly what it evolved to do. Seek proximity to a trusted companion during the most vulnerable hours. Alexander Horowitz at Barnard College's Dog Cognition Lab has written extensively about the ways humans anthropomorphize their dogs, attributing emotional and social complexity to them that mirrors our own social needs. The dog in bed is often not just a dog. They are a companion, a presence, a body that shares your darkness. If you are someone who rarely enforces rules about where your dog sleeps, it is worth asking when this pattern solidified. Was it after a breakup, after a move, after a loss? The dog did not suddenly become more charming. Your need for proximity became more acute. They simply walked into the space that was already open. Number 4. The control paradox. Here is one of the more counterintuitive findings in the psychology of co-sleeping with pets. Many owners who struggle most with enforcing sleep boundaries in other areas of their lives, with children, with partners, with work schedules, are the same owners who describe their dog's bedtime presence as a non-negotiable comfort. The co-sleeping choice often lives inside a larger pattern of boundary ambivalence. Psychologists studying interpersonal boundaries have noted that the people who struggle most with them tend to experience boundary setting as a form of rejection of the other party. Moving the dog off the bed does not feel like a sleep hygiene decision. It feels like abandoning them. It activates guilt that is disproportionate to the action. And guilt at that scale is usually a signal that the stakes are not really about the dog. The dog in the bed has become a relational anchor, and the idea of removing it triggers the same emotional cost as any meaningful withdrawal of closeness would. You are not bad at training your dog. You have assigned them a relational role that makes certain forms of limit setting feel emotionally expensive in a way that a purely behavioral analysis would never capture. Recognizing this pattern is not a criticism. It is a map, and a map is the beginning of choice. Number 5. The cortisol compromise. A 2025 review published in Sleep Medicine Reviews by Sucheki examined the relationship between sleep companions, including pets, and sleep quality across multiple studies. The review found something that should have resolved the debate, but instead deepened it. Owners who co-slept with pets reported higher subjective sleep satisfaction despite measurable increases in nighttime arousals. Translated out of academic language, people who sleep with their pets wake up more and feel better rested. Their bodies are more disrupted. Their experience is more restorative. This is not a paradox if you understand what sleep is actually for. Sleep is not just neural consolidation and cellular repair. It is also the body's primary stress recovery window. And if the presence of your dog suppresses cortisol activation at night, if the animal's warmth and predictable breathing keeps your threat detection system quiet, then your sleep, fragmented as it is doing more stress recovery work than undisturbed sleep without them would. You are not sleeping worse and ignoring it. You are sleeping differently and benefiting from it in a way that the standard metrics, total sleep time, wake episodes, were never designed to measure. Your body is conducting a cost-benefit analysis every night, and every night, it comes to the same conclusion. Number 6. The identity investment. There is a final layer to the co-sleeping choice that almost never gets discussed, and it is perhaps the most revealing. What it means to the owner's sense of self. For many people who identify deeply as dog owners, who would describe their dog as family, as their person, as the most uncomplicated relationship in their lives, the co-sleeping ritual is part of how they perform and reinforce that identity. It's not just something they do, it's part of who they are. Samuel Gosling at the University of Texas, who has studied how personality and environment intersect, found that the way people arrange their most intimate spaces, including their beds, reflects not just preferences, but self-narratives. What you allow in your most private space is a statement about what you value. For the dog owner who defines themselves by the depth of their bond, the dog in bed is a nightly reaffirmation. I am someone who loves without condition. I am someone whose relationship with this animal is real and total. The interrupted sleep is almost part of the point. It is a small sacrifice that proves the commitment is genuine. This is not delusion. This is identity coherence. Understanding it allows you to decide whether you are choosing it freely or whether it is choosing you. So, what does all of this actually give you? It gives you a way of looking at a behavior you have probably explained to yourself 100 times and explained away 100 times with something more useful than either justification or judgment. You now know that the co-sleeping choice is not a single thing. It is a layered decision that lives at the intersection of attachment, anxiety, loneliness, identity, and the particular cost-benefit calculus your nervous system performs every night without asking your permission. You may be someone whose dog in bed is an anxiety anchor, whose sleep is genuinely better because a threat detection system quieter actually is rested more. That is real. That is physiology, not rationalization. Or you may be someone whose dog in bed has become a proxy for a social need you have not addressed elsewhere, a holder for a loneliness you have not named, a boundary you cannot set because setting it feels like a form of abandonment you do not want to model. Neither version makes you a bad owner. Neither version makes you broken. Both versions make you a human being navigating something genuinely complicated with the tools you have. What changes now is that you can see it, and seeing it clearly, without the fog of guilt or defensiveness, is the only place from which any real choice becomes possible. You do not have to move the dog. You just have to know why you are not moving the dog. Tonight, when your dog jumps up on the bed, something will be different. Not the dog. They will circle twice, collapse with theatrical certainty, and steal the same diagonal stretch of mattress they always have. Nothing about them will have changed. What will have changed is you. Because now when you look at them, when you move your legs to make room, when you pull the blanket over both of you, when you close your eyes to the warm weight of them against your side, you will not just be falling asleep. You will be making a conscious choice, a choice about attachment, about what your nervous system needs, about who you trust with your unguarded self in the quiet dark. That is not a small thing. The way we sleep and who we sleep next to is one of the most honest expressions of who we are when no one is watching, including ourselves. Your dog has always known that. They knew it the first night they circled and lay down beside you. They were not asking for your bed. They were offering you theirs. Thank you for investing your time with us today. Now that you know your choice to keep your dog in bed reveals your own attachment style, anxiety profile, and need for closeness, we are curious. Does your dog sleep in your bed? And what do you think that says about you? Let us know in the comments. New episodes drop every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, so make sure you are subscribed to catch the next one. Until then, decode your dog, decode yourself.